10 passports that we can combine with the European one, maybe not to improve freedom of movement, but rather to obtain a second passport, a second citizenship if you are from the European Union by origin, or perhaps naturalized through residency but still wanting a second or third option. First, we have Mexico, which allows you to obtain a temporary residency at the consulate if you meet one of the requirements, such as financial solvency through income or a minimum balance in savings or investment account. Depending on the amount you have, they might even grant you a permanent residency, and if you invest several $100,000 in Mexico, you can get citizenship in less than 1 year without physically being there, thanks to their exception-based citizenship policy. If you want to reside there physically, you can obtain Mexican citizenship in just 2 years if your country has a treaty, spending 18 months within a 24-month period. If your country doesn't have a treaty, the usual time is 4 years of temporary residency and 2 years of permanent residency. Some people have a kid there getting themselves PR directly and their child Mexican citizenship instantly. During that time, you could be a tax resident there but benefit from the Recico system, where you would end up paying only 1 to 2%, or alternative, operate offshore companies without failing under refipres, which are essentially Mexico's CFC rules. I have moved around Cancun, Playa del Carmen and Tulum. The experience was positive, but I believe I could be better in Mexico City or Puerto Vallarta, where I plan to stay temporarily, because I have some clients there, some friends there, and my circle, because I'm Spanish, okay, I speak Spanish with all these clients, is there in Mexico City. Second, we have El Salvador, a country widely known for Bukele's policies. The Salvadorian residency permit reminds me of Panama's or the Emirates one, as it can be granted based on income if you meet the minimum requirement, or by creating a company and having your own residency permit. However, in El Salvador, you must provide capital to the company, unlike in Panama or the UAE. Furthermore, El Salvador operates under a territorial tax system, meaning all foreign income and crypto gains are taxed at 0%. As a Spaniard, you can get citizenship in just 2 years due to special bilateral agreements, meaning only 1 year of temporary residency and 1 year of permanent residency, which they call definitive residency there. During these 2 years, you must live in the country for most of the time, between 6 and 9 months per year, since the residency expires otherwise, for 5 years. El Salvador doesn't offer a residency that doesn't require minimum physical presence like Panama, Mexico, or Paraguay. If you don't want to spend those years physically in the country, there is always the investment route. Currently, the only citizenship by investment program is still active in 2025, with a total cost of $1 million by donation, which can be paid directly in crypto with no need for banking. It's the fastest passport to obtain among all programs, as within less than 6 weeks you will have both approval and passport in hand. You can include your spouse and children up to 18 years old in this program, or older if they are financially dependent on you because they are studying or unable to work. It's true that for that price, vetted passports or citizenships could be obtained. It wouldn't be my first pick with $1 million budget. Still, if El Salvador continues on the same path it's followed these past years, we shouldn't be surprised if it gains more visa-free access, and in the long-term future, okay, in the long term, possibly entry to the US ESTA system. Moving on to the Caribbean, among the 5 investment programs, my favorite in terms of investment type is St. Lucia, because you invest there $300,000 in interest-free bonds for 5 years, pay around $100,000 more in legal fees, due diligence and government charge, and get a passport for the entire family at less than $25,000 per person. However, I wouldn't recommend St. Lucia right now if you are looking for a quick process, as there are cases where it's taking almost 2 years to get the passport. Quite absurd when they promise it in 3 to 4 months. Maybe we should discard St. Lucia and consider Antigua and Barbuda or Grenada instead, where there are donation or real estate investment options, and where on average the passport is granted in 1 year. Total cost ranges from $250,000 to $290,000, depending on whether you apply alone, as a family of 4, or wish to include your sister in the program. It's important to mention that the European Union is unsurprisingly attacking all investment programs, arguing they pose a security risk because they supposedly dangerous wealthy individuals might enter. While that's not the case, it could be a valid concern. Yet, we witnessed thousands of undocumented people entering and eventually receiving citizenship, exposing the hypocrisy of that narrative. Now that we have mentioned Paraguay, we must highlight it thoroughly because it's the trendiest residency right now, the one everyone should get at least as a plan B. You go there, do the paperwork, and don't have to return for a full year. Paraguay used to offer one of the easiest permanent residencies in the world. You only had to deposit $5,000 in a Paraguayan bank and you would receive permanent residency right away. But now you must invest at least $70,000 over a few years, or alternative, apply for temporary residency where the only requirement is having no criminal record. You don't need to create a company, you don't need to live there to maintain it, just spend 1 day per year. After 1 year and 9 months, you move to permanent residency, and after 3 years of permanent status, during which they will require physical presence and ties, you will get the citizenship, but it doesn't allow dual or multiple citizenship unless you are Spanish. In practice, you can keep your other citizenship because there isn't a real enforcement. I'm Spanish by origin, I have spoken to all kinds of law firms, contacts and judges, and don't be sold the smoke, because it's not easy to get citizenship there if you don't have very strong ties in the country, or you live continuous practically every year there, or you value citizenship by exception, which we can get you if you are interested. You have the form in the description. Just like El Salvador, Paraguay also has a territorial tax system and local taxes that never exceed 10% in case you want to sell them. Now let's move to its neighbor, Argentina, which has recently changed the way you can obtain citizenship. Before, someone could enter illegally, stay for 2 years, at least 6 months per year, and get nationality citizenship without having legal continuous residency. This has now changed, as a new decree states that if someone doesn't have continuously legal residency and hasn't stayed the full 2 years, counting 0 days of absence, they won't be granted citizenship. This is insane because naturalizing in Argentina is now going to be extremely difficult. I believe they will revise it, maybe requiring 6 to 9 months per year, or even 10 like in Chile, but allowing justified exits. 2 full years without leaving Argentina is a bit extreme. The most common residency people now apply for is the rentista visa because it has the easiest requirements, although many are also obtaining citizenship by exception in under 1 year through local investment. That said, this is not like other exceptions programs that can be applied for abroad. Here you must first get legal residency in Argentina and Argentina ID, DNI, before applying, even if you go with the exception route. They even consider it favorable if you have spent a few months in the country before applying. All this is leading Argentina to become a direct competitor to El Salvador, potentially launching the second CBI program for $500,000. We still don't know the exact investment requirements, but if we compare passports, Argentina's is initially better than El Salvador's one. Secondly, it's not a donation but an actual investment, and thirdly, it's half the price. The only remaining question is whether it will be issued as fast, which I doubt considering Argentina's complex naturalization process. It wouldn't be surprising if it still took 2 years, through possible without requiring physical presence. I hope it will be faster, but we will see. Currently, Argentina's tax system is pretty bad, although in practice no one pays taxes there if they have business abroad, which is technically incorrect, but enforcement is poor. Hopefully in October, Milei will win a majority and introduce a new tax regime with average, not abusive, nor excessively low rates. That way, many Argentines might not feel compelled to flee to Paraguay to pay zero taxes. I want to mention now a Mercosur associate country, not for its citizenship but for its passport's freedom of movement. Chile, the only Latin American country with ESTA access to the US. Chile, you must stay between 5 to 9 years to obtain citizenship, residing at least 10 months per year. If you give birth there, that time is reduced, but prior legal residency is required. Being a tourist or undocumented doesn't count. Previously in Argentina, many practiced birth tourism, as your children would automatically receive citizenship and the parent as well. Now the parents only receive a temporary residency and must stay for 2 years. In Chile it's similar, your time is reduced, but the minimum required will still be 5 years, plus 2 to 3 years for processing, a total of around 8 years. This option is only viable for those with a strong personal connection to Chile or those willing to live there for the next decade. Now let's move to Europe, but not the European Union, since it wouldn't make sense to obtain another EU passport if we are aiming for diversification. The first country is Serbia. In Serbia, we have CBE, not CBI. It can cost between 350,000 and 500,000 euros and be granted in less than 1 year. We have had US clients receiving it under 90 days, passport in hand. Part of payment can be in crypto, a part in fiat, as they are open to investment in underdeveloped areas that benefit the Serbian population. That said, I only recommend this route if you are going through the exception program. Otherwise, Serbia will require you to renounce your previous citizenship And in 2025, there is no reason to give up one of the world's best passports for travel freedom and global identification. If you wish to renounce it in the future, fine, but first secure your second passport that offers reputation and protection. If you prefer investing rather than donating, there is Turkey, where you can obtain citizenship by investing $400,000 in real estate, holding the property for 3 years while renting it out, and then selling it to recover most of the investment. Not all of it, because taxes and currency devaluation might result in a 10 to 20% cost, though it's outside the Schengen zone, so keeping your European passport gives you access there, or the possibility of combining it with a European golden visa. Many consider the bank deposit option, we did too until 2024, but now it no longer offers exchange rate protection, only interest. Compared to real estate, we find property more solid for the 3-year hold period. It's worth mentioning that Turkey enforces mandatory military service for men. However, they can be waived if handled correctly. It's important to assess each case carefully to ensure no family member must serve even a single day. We have covered Europe. I would mention Asia, but in most Asian countries you will never naturalize due to their strong jus sanguinis principles. The only options are Cambodia citizenship by investment or through distinction in the UAE if you invest tens of millions. That's why I want to now mention the option from my video on Third World War refuge, Mauritius. It doesn't offer an easy residency for the average European citizen, but it's a considerable option to naturalize due to its strong passport for travel freedom, one of the only good African passports alongside Seychelles. In Mauritius, the process is the same for everyone regardless of residency type. You can apply for citizenship after 2 years if you have invested $500,000, 5 years if you are a Commonwealth citizen, and 7 years for everyone else. Also, the law in Mauritius directly contemplates exception-based citizenship, which I assume requires a donation of around $500,000. Personally, I don't know anyone who has obtained it by exception, but yes, by naturalization, and during that time you must have lived continuously, a term open to interpretation. It could mean over 183 days per year on average, or never having left the island. The people I know who naturalized there weren't present every day of the year, and none of them naturalized citizens I know had to renounce prior citizenship. These are the main options I see for Europeans. Of course, more can be mentioned, and we will in future videos. For now, if you need help obtaining a second citizenship, I invite you to fill out the form in the description to let us know which one you are aiming for.